There we are. There we are. Good morning, people. Yes, we are on a late start this Monday. I will share with you why in just a second. Let me make sure that we're up and going over here. And there we are. Yay. Good morning, everyone. If this is your first time tuning in, welcome. My name is Patricia Hayes. I am executive advisor, career empowerment coach, and authentic networking strategist. And this is coffee time, where we come and we have chit chats about all things that are related to our careers and our lives as we try to integrate them successfully, so that we can achieve our goals. Without compromising our personal ethics or beliefs. And so we talk about a little bit of everything, most of the time career related, but we drop off into other things as well. So welcome. And things are a little off schedule today just because it's been a tough weekend. I've been a little under the weather. Those of you know me know that I have a lovely little chronic syndrome thing called angioedema that pops up, and it popped up this weekend, and if you're looking close enough you can tell, but we're not going to worry about that because I've decided I'm moving forward regardless. And worst comes to worst, I delete this session and we just do a recording of it, so you don't get to have to physically see me. But that said, I am here this morning to talk about, hey Leslie, to talk about the power of authenticity in leadership. That is our topic for this week. So let me back up, because to end the month, I've been working on a topic, a theme by month. And last month's theme for September was about empowerment. And this month, the theme is leadership. So we're going to talk about things that regard leadership in your careers, in your personal lives, in all kinds of ways. Remember, my theory about leadership, if you haven't caught this before, is that leadership is about more than having a title. So we first have to level set there. Leadership is about more than having a title. It's about how you live your life, how you represent yourself to others, how you can guide others and take a stance on those things, how you can protect and as well as challenge people, but to do it in a way that encourages growth, in a way that encourages a building up and not a tearing down. I'm infamous for saying, and I know other people who are too, which is that, there are some horrible leaders out there. There are people with titles that, because of how we set up in our society, they're considered leaders. However, they are horrible representations of leaders. We will not start naming any names. But there are people without titles who are leading every day. And, I'm a huge advocate for leading from behind, because those things always pop up. They always come back, and they come back in a good way to support and to, what's the word I want to use? Just to build up the person who is taking that stance, who is moving things forward, even without the title, even without, someone designating them as a leader. Okay. Now, when you're talking about authenticity, this is one of my favorite topics, and it's particularly in the context of networking, right? So when we're talking about being authentic, we're talking about being genuine, right? Being, not putting on airs, not trying to do things just because that's what someone else is doing, but doing them because you are, because they're true to you and who you are, right? Now, someone can say, well, what if someone's authentic way is just really bad? Well, that's a possibility, but at least you know who you're dealing with. That's one of the things I always say is, the person who is looking you dead in your eye, ready to fight you or whatever, as opposed to the person who's smiling in your face but ready to stab you in your back. guess what? I'll take the person who's standing in front of me ready to fight me any day, because at least I know who they are and where they stand. All right. So if you want to find a way to make a distinction, that would be it. When you're being authentic, there's no question about who you are, how you're coming across, what your motives are, all of that, right? You know, people know. If they don't know, they will learn. But it's not this guessing game. It's not this, well, what are they really after? Or that whole feeling of someone kind of feeling like something's not quite right. Because people pick up on it. They may not pick up on why, but they will pick up on the fact that something's off. And therefore, they will respond to you in that way. And we'll talk a little bit more about that later, and how that comes up with having issues of trust. All right, which is always problematic when if you're in a leadership position or with an opportunity to lead, and you have a lack of trust. Okay, that's very problematic. Okay, so one of the things that I definitely want to mention here, make sure I'm on the right page of my notes. Why does it matter? Why does authenticity in your, in leadership matter? Excuse me. Well, it matters for a couple of things. Number one, most of us, particularly when it comes to work, are trying to get something accomplished. Even if it's not with work, if it's something that we're wanting to do personally, there's a goal we're trying to achieve. There's something we're trying to do. There's something we're trying to get done. Okay? Now, if you have to lead a team, lead other people, lead yourself in order to make it happen, then how you act, how you are perceived, affects that ability to lead. That's the reason why it matters. Now, if you're not being authentic, if you're not being genuine in your leadership as a person, that's that piece I just talked about where it'll come across, people will pick up on it, and they will not follow, because you can't be a leader without followers. Right? Now, you can have a title, and you could be a manager, a supervisor, a CEO, it doesn't matter. And people will reluctantly follow because you hold the ruler, right? You have their money. All of those things, right? They're paying you. They have some power over, not a power within, but some power over you. That's really good. A power over you. And so you will do what is said, but you're not really following. Does that make sense? A leader can be, like I said, when it's someone without a title, people will follow them, will follow their guidance, will follow their path without them asking them to, without saying that, oh gosh, this is something I absolutely have to do. So, because they're paying me, because I'm going to get in trouble if I don't. No, true leadership is when people will follow you even in spite of that. They will stick with you in spite of that. They will stick with you because you are showing characteristics of being someone who's worthy of being listened to, of being heard. Not necessarily, they don't have to agree with you, but they respect you enough to hear you and to say, you know what, I don't agree, but I may follow, but I may try this anyways. Hi, David. So, these are these distinctions about why, being a sound, good leader matters, and why being an authentic one matters, right? And which we're going to dig a little bit further to. Now, here's another little point that I want to make sure to point out. Power within. Y'all know I like to take notes on my own stuff, right? Hope you're taking notes. It is that being an effective leader requires trust. Okay? Now, I didn't just say being a good leader or being a leader requires trust. Being an effective one. Because again, you can have a title that puts you over people without being a good leader. You can be a horrible manager. Right? Trust builds loyalty and fellowship. Now, what does that have to do? You're like, Patricia, but you're talking about the power of being authentic. If you are being authentic in how you are dealing with people, in dealing with your team members, in dealing with your colleagues, the trust levels will rise. If you're being genuine. Now, some people take this whole discussion of authenticity as in, oh, I've got to lay all my business out in the street, and that's the only way to be authentic. That is not true. Okay, that is about oversharing. We're not talking about oversharing. We're talking about sharing, though. So you may share, hey, you all, like I did to start off, things were a little rough. I was late this morning. I'm so sorry. Here's the reason why. But let's get going. Now, oversharing could, for a leader, let's say they had a rough weekend and that they don't want to share the details of. It's not important, that's not valuable. They could say, oh my gosh, my spouse served me with divorce papers. Do you really want to know that just yet? Maybe not. Maybe you don't want to share that. But it's okay for a leader to come and say, hey, you guys, it's been a rough meeting, had a rough weekend, had some family issues to come up, but so forgive me if I'm not, on point. Just, circle back around and get with me. Okay? Just sharing that. We, particularly as Americans, are always taught to have this wall up. Don't do that kind of sharing with your subordinates, which is the problem right there, as opposed to with people who have lives. That's really what being authentic is all about, is recognizing like we all have lives. These jobs are not our life. We treat them like they are sometimes until something else happens, but they are not our lives. They are a part of our lives. They may even be a significant part of our lives, but they are not our lives. When we look at the totality of who we are, what are those other things that you bring to the table, right? Are you involved in your community? Are you the person who supports your elderly parents the most? Do you have small children who require, significant care, particularly in the middle of a pandemic when we're all crammed in at home? We're doing everything at home, living, playing, working. So even, especially today, this is one of those things I've talked about in my networking session about networking through a crisis, but especially today, with all that we're going through, acknowledging where people are and how they are engaging right now is very, very important. So if you are in a position of leadership, making sure to check in with your people and say, hey, how are you guys doing today? My weekend was a little wonky. How about you? That is an opportunity to show some vulnerability, to share, to show that you are a real person. Or, or like, oh my gosh, I got caught in this horrible storm. My car ran off the road. As opposed to, oh yeah, I did. I just called, the service and everything was taken care of. Like nothing's wrong. Because that's not being authentic. That's not where people are today. Okay? So you have to give a little to get some. And this is that thing. It's like, well, why? You're building trust. And I'm not saying to be manipulative, because there are people who do that. They'll share just enough for you to feel sorry so they can manipulate you into doing or saying something else. That's not being an effective leader either. That will come back to bite you. People will figure it out. Okay? So that is not the point. But when you're being authentic, when you're willing to share, when you're willing to ask, not just ask people, but to hear them, that is really, really important, right? Because people ask all the time, oh, how are you doing? And then they go on to the next step. They're not really waiting for an answer. Wait for the answer. Build the trust. Okay? Take that extra 10 or 15 minutes, on the phone, privately in a text or whatever to say, hey, what's going on? Are you okay? I haven't heard from you in a while. That does not require a position in order to be human. This is why I say you can be a leader without having a title. If you're going around and you're touching people and you're checking in on them, and if you are helping to guide them through the craziness of today, you are showing some leadership qualities that other people who get paid to be leaders aren't. Okay? So remember, that effective leadership requires trust, and that trust builds a loyalty, it builds a fellowship where people are willing to step in and step up for you down the road when you weren't even expecting it, just because you were just, you know what, I'm just trying to do the right thing. Just trying to do the right thing, right? I know that there's a story I like to share with one of my colleagues. When we were able to meet for coffee in person, and we would do so, 2 to 3 times a year at least. When we were working more closely together, it was more often. But as things, just gone in different paths, or whatever, but we still connect. And it's unusual, particularly for a man. But when we would get together, the first question out of his mouth would always be, "How are you? How is the family?" And then wait for an answer. Right? I mean, he wasn't just saying that so you could say, "Oh, everything's fine, we're good." No, like he would ask that question and he would probe. And we might spend 20 minutes talking about something completely unrelated to business or whatever reason we came there, because we're just level setting. And I've grown over the years to respect that about him, and have it's something that I kind of did myself, but sometimes I'll be a little anxious about it because people say, "Oh, that's none of your business," or "Why are you getting there?" But that's who I am. I'm like, "How are you doing?" And we could chit chat about a whole bunch of stuff. But guess what? Building that trust is worth it. Because when it comes down to dealing with that business issue or that project issue, whatever, it really probably doesn't even take 30 minutes to have a conversation about that. You could probably have it in 3 and do it with a little bit of follow-up. I've learned that over the years because I've spent a lot of time learning more about people when you have these conversations, so that when you get to the end, you're like, "Oh my gosh, we never really officially discussed the piece of business we were talking about." But guess what? That willingness, "Oh, no problem. Just send me what you want. Send me the email," right? Taking that time. And right now, today, that is something that people desperately want and need. Okay? All right. So, the next thing, here's one. Effective leadership. I don't know what I want to say requires, but how about we're going to pay? Effective leadership does require effective leadership. I am going to say that it does require some sound ethics. I don't know why I was struggling with that there. I don't know if that was the right word that I wanted to use, but that's the one that's flowing for right now. Here's where I'm headed with this. If your ethics are off, people will be able to tell. What I mean by ethics. If you're willing, there's a difference between willing to push the envelope on something and being able to push it, being willing to push it to the point that it's harmful to someone, to something, without caring about it harming someone. When situations happen and it's like, this does not smell right. Right? And some people will say, "Well, I don't know that I can do that." If that's who you are and where you are, then you shouldn't. Okay? Because if you do or engage in something unethical, it will certainly be found out eventually. It may not be right then. I've had a few of those situations, y'all. Man, and you're dealing with someone that is a snake. I mean, there's no polite way to put it. Like, they are undermining. They are doing things behind your back. They are not being real with you. And not only are they not being real with you, they are twisting things against you with other people while pretending that everything's hunky-dory with you. Oh yeah, that's high drama. It is high drama. But we've all been there, right? In some work situation, in some relationship, something like that, where you're like, "Oh my gosh, that knife is really twisted in my back." And you may have discovered it too late. Here's the thing. How do you respond to that? Those are certainly difficult situations. And they are ones that do reveal who we are and how far we're willing to go to address a situation. That does not mean, being authentic in that does not mean either one of these two extremes, right? On the one hand is the, oh, woe is me, and the crying and the tears and all that kind of stuff, which is more often affiliated with women, and that's insulting, because I know that me personally, if I'm in a professional situation and I'm tearing up, I am not tearing up and about to cry because my feelings are hurt. I am tearing up and about to cry because there's something I really, really, really want to say to you, but I'm trying to stay professional. So I'm literally biting my tongue so that I do not say the thing that I will regret, not because I regret saying it to you, but because it will affect my relationship with other people in the future. Or because I am so angry that I know that I need to calm down. So, be forewarned. If I'm ever looking like I'm about to shed tears and it's a professional setting, you're like, oh no. That's really what that means to me. So there's that extreme. Then you have the other extreme of someone just totally exploding and just completely losing it, right? And when we're dealing with that, in personal situations, those are tough enough, right? We're much more comfortable to, quote, be who we are. But in a professional setting, we're like normally between those two extremes, right? And you're trying to figure out how to deal with it. And here's the thing. You can show emotion and still maintain your level of professionalism, still be a leader, but you need to show that you're a human being, right? That's part of being authentic, that that you're not a pushover. Like, showing emotion in the workplace does not mean that you are out of control or lack the ability to take control of a situation. No, it shows that you're human. So it might be something that you say, this part right here really makes me angry. So I think I'm going to have to call a 5-minute break. It could be that, right? You've acknowledged it. You acknowledge that something is off. How it makes you feel, and that it's affecting your ability to work in this moment. So we're going to move on. Or if someone says, well, what do you think about this? You're like, I really don't think that's a good idea for me to share right now. That's a conversation you're going to have offline. You can still be able to be who you are, to show your responses in a situation without going to the extremes of being, an emotional wreck or a raging bull. Okay? It doesn't make you less authentic because you're not going to either one of those extremes. You're recognizing your environment and how that may not be useful or productive. Because remember, we're talking about being an effective leader, and being able to share that with someone can be that. So I was on a Zoom conference a couple of Saturdays ago. And I did not know any of these people. So it was something just for fun. It was a paper. I love paper. And so it was this big planning conference thing like that. So I love it. I was having a good time. Well, in the course of one of the speakers, I'm speaking and we're all in the chat. This person who I do not know, but it was completely rude. It's like she forgot her inside voice. You know how when you say something, you're like, oh, did I say that out loud? And you shouldn't have. It was one of those moments in a chat. So it's caught in writing, which makes it even worse, right? It was the equivalent of if we were in a live room, her standing up and basically saying, oh my gosh, this is so boring. Like, what is this person even talking about? And what does this have to do with, what we're doing here? Literally, I am not exaggerating. That is what this person says. Now, because it's a live chat, the speaker can see this because, they're trying to make sure you can answer any questions. The speaker can see this. Now, at the time, I had not seen, I had not heard, seen or heard what had been written. I did notice that the speaker became very flustered, almost upset. And I was like, what did okay, I missed something. And when I was going through the chat, then all of a sudden there were a couple of comments and someone was like, oh, really? I can't believe that. And I was like, I missed something. So I go back and I saw that. And I was very upset that someone was so disrespectful. So I clicked on that person's name thinking it was going to them privately. And I said that I thought it was very rude and disrespectful for them to do the equivalent of standing up and insulting a speaker that, and how I thought that the speaker's words were and what they were sharing were relevant to what we were doing. Okay. Well, when I hit that send button, it went to the entire crowd. It did not go just to that one person. And so when I realized that, immediately after, I wrote again and I said, pardon me, everyone. I was trying to send that notice to the person who made the rude comment. I acknowledged that's what I was doing. But it went to everyone by mistake, and my apologies for that. All right? So I owned up to it right then. All right? I'm not taking back my words because I meant what I said. But I was apologizing. I did not want to add to the disruption. Well, as we continued on, then people were like, "Oh no, Patricia, thank you so much. I agree totally. It was totally out of line. Thank you for speaking up." Some people said that publicly. Others messaged me privately. Thank you so much for speaking up. Okay, I'm not trying to sing my own praises there, but that was a very real opportunity that was off the cuff, to show some leadership, to stand up on someone else's behalf, because we're in the middle of this presentation, and basically this person stood up and was like, "This is boring. When are you going to talk about something that's relevant to what we're doing?" I mean, that was the equivalent of what she did. It was so disrespectful, y'all. So disrespectful. And totally upset the speaker. So, but when the speaker realized, she was able to recover, and then a lot of us, were either privately and publicly saying, "Hey, thank you so much. You were supporting us." And people were doing things throughout the rest of it to reaffirm that what that person said was not accurate or appropriate, and that we were being supportive of the speaker. All that to say, you can be a leader in all kinds of situations. It doesn't have to just be professional. It doesn't require a title. Speaking up on behalf of someone when they're being disrespected, or maybe engaging with someone when they've been ostracized. I mean, that happens, yes. There are all kinds of things that can happen and opportunities. And the question is for you, what rings true for you in a situation? All right? Are you being the best person that you can be in that situation, and to provide guidance or direction if it's appropriate? Maybe sometimes it's not you. Maybe it's someone else and you're following, right? It's like, what? That's right. I want to make sure that I'm being supportive of this particular person in this situation. All right? The opportunities are endless. The opportunities do not require a title. And I know that sounds repetitive, but I'm saying it for a reason, because most people think to be a leader, they have to have a title, and that is not true. So again, a little bit more about authenticity and how this weaves into this discussion of leadership. Because remember, when we're talking about being authentic, we're talking about being genuine. We're talking about being vulnerable, right? We're talking about having a willingness to be exposed at some level. That takes a lot. Okay, it's not something that everyone can just jump into. And I don't expect you to, because you need to know, because if you jump into it and you're not comfortable, then that shows as well, right? And it's okay to not be totally comfortable if you know that, I'm doing something that I haven't done before, but it's because I want or need people to know and understand that this is where I am and this is who I am. Okay? And so those are the types of things that you do want to explore when you're thinking about authentic leadership. All right. That is going to be it for today. I know there was a lot. That got a little esoterical. Maybe we'll follow up on Wednesday with some more specific examples, a little more chit chat. Drop some notes in the comments. Let me know what you're thinking about it. And we can see where we head with this topic a little bit more on Wednesday. Ruminate on that a little bit. Think on it a little bit. And we will follow up. Also, let me please remind you that it is October. We are in the last quarter of this year. It is almost 2021, thank goodness. But we want to end this year on a strong note. So if you are looking to, try to figure out what it is you're going to do next and you need support in that, let me know. Hit me up in the DMs, hit me up in the comments. Email me, and let's get you on the calendar for a consultation. I do 20-minute consultations at no charge. We'll talk a little bit about what it is, where you are now, where you want to go, and how I can support you in achieving that goal and seeing what it is you want to do. Now, that would be one-on-one work, and there are some long-term packages that I always have. But this month, what I'm getting to is that I am doing my quarterly VIP intensives where I lay that out, that opportunity to a handful of people. I normally limit it to about 10. Depending on what happens, there may be room for a few more, but I'm letting this out. I've really only let this out on these coffee time chats, but I'm about to start publicizing that more. So if you are interested in something like that, please let me know. The commitments for VIP time are 2 hours, 4 hours, or 6 hours with the fee that corresponds. And we literally just go at it for whatever time frame you've solicited to focus on that particular issue you've identified. And it's me and you, and that's it. All right. And we set those times up and at a time that's effective and most that works best for you. And that if it means it's after 5, it's after quote working hours, that's what I'll do, or on the weekends, just so that we can make sure you get that work in so that you can get situated for 2021. All right. All right, more great stuff coming. I'm super excited about the 30-day consistency challenge. It's going to be coming up again soon. And I have a lovely workbook journal that's coming along with it. I'm just so excited. Like, the designer just sent it to me this morning, the beginnings of it. I'm super excited. Makes me happy. All right. So think about all those things. If you need me for anything, do not hesitate to reach out. I am here. Hope you have a fantastic and blessed start to your week. Take care, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.